Hi there, just want a quick chat with you about dive watches. I love watches and I particularly love dive watches. I wear dive watches most of the time. Just bought a lovely Tudor 1926, so stunning watch. Love Tudor as a brand, nice understated brand. Um, but I usually wear dive watches, so I've got my eye on the Pelagos at the moment. But I mean, here is sort of one of my go-to watches, and I don't know if you can see. So this is an Oris depth gauge dive watch, and just at 12 o'clock, can you see a little hole in the glass? The idea being that water goes in that hole, and with Boyle's law, it gets compressed in the tube. There's a little sort of tube built into the glass going around the outside, but really it's a gimmick. I mean, it's hard to see, and it's not that accurate, and you would have a computer on your wrist. This is the point I'm making. Divers wear computers to give them all the information they need to work out how long they can be at the appropriate depths, how long their safety stops are. It's all computerized. They do not wear a dive watch, and they certainly wouldn't wear a Rolex or an Omega costing thousands and thousands of pounds, as it's just a liability for damaging and losing the watch. I saw a review the other day where they're talking about the Tudor being a tool watch for diving. It's just nonsense. So please, reviewers, you're great reviewers of watches, but know a little bit about diving. That divers do not wear dive watches. I wear them because they're robust. I can go in the sea if I'm snorkeling, surfing, just mucking about. I can just go into the shower without having to stop and think about it. It's just a robust, nice. I've also got big wrists, so chunky watches suit me better than little dainty ones. So, but dive watches by name aren't used by divers for diving. They may have been years ago. Years ago, you'd have to get a table out which tells you how long you can be at certain depths, and you would, before the dive, plan to go to say 30 meters. It will tell you how long you can be there, so you've been looking at your watch to work out the length of time of your dive. It's also why you have unidirectional bezels on dive watches. Bi-directional is dangerous and pointless. Unidirectional, so if you know you've got 45 minutes in the water, if the bezel was to get knocked, it would just show less time, so you would be in a safer realm than if it knocked it to make you think you had more time down there than you should. So it's all about getting the bends and safe diving. So that's what a unidirectional bezel was about. I have heard stories that in the old days, we're talking sort of 30, 40 plus years ago, divers would buy a Rolex or an Omega so that if they were abroad and some tragedy befell them, or they were mugged or anything like that, and their watch wasn't taken, which would be the most likely form of mugging nowadays, they could sell the watch for their tickets home. This is the story. Whether that is just a nice little bit of urban myth, I've no idea. Maybe some of you older divers out there would be able to tell you. But certainly, when I used to dive, computer on the wrist, would not wear a quality watch. You'd buy £100 Seiko or something if you're desperate to have a watch on your wrist. Um, but you certainly wouldn't buy a high-end dive watch. It's pointless. The depth, it's ridiculous. 4,000, 5,000, but even 300 meters is crazy. You wouldn't be down there. Most divers do their diving sort of to 30 meters, 30 to 40 meters. There you go. So, dive watchers and discussing in reviews their ability to be great dive watchers is pointless, and I wish they would stop doing it. Okay, thanks for watching. Any questions about dive watches? Any interesting stories, whatever, you can by all means contact me. Toodaloos.